All right, it is time for the week 9 update on these two planted tanks. I guess we'll start on the left with the 45 gallon, which just got the upgraded light earlier this week to a Chihiro's light. And I don't know how obvious it is, but you can definitely see already the effect of this new light. Like the Limnophila has some red under the leaves. It didn't have that before. The blood red Rotala is definitely much more red than it was. So already, I feel like already I'm seeing some results. I don't know, for all I know, it's just the quality of the light is making them look better, but I don't think that's the case. There's definitely way more pearling going on. Yeah, I feel like things look pretty good. This Rotala, supposed Rotala willickii, still not looking like Rotala willickii, and obviously it's a very fast growing plant. So I think what I'm gonna do maybe this weekend is cut it way back, maybe 2/3 of it I'll remove and see how the new growth comes in. And the blood red Rotala too is pretty fast. And obviously, since I didn't have the brighter light before, it's not growing that densely. So I may give that a pretty heavy trim too. But I think I'm gonna leave the Limnophila for now. I feel like that looks pretty nice. So I don't think I'll cut that back. And then obviously the Pagastemon stellatus Dawson in the middle is a pretty slow grower. So I'm gonna leave that alone too. And yeah, the Myriophyllum's not doing too much, so I may leave that be. Storyogony in the front could use a trim. I may trim the tops and plant the cuttings to make them all a little bit denser. Pagastemon helferi in the front. You can see the little new ones I added later in the very front, and then the back row is the taller plants, looking really cool. I have been thinking about fish for this tank since now it's starting to really come along. And I don't know, I have some ideas on either maybe maybe a slightly larger species of tetra, not large, but like larger of the small tetras. Something cool, something slightly rarer maybe, nothing too crazy. Or I was thinking maybe some kind of barb or rasbora combo. So yeah, I haven't nailed it down yet, but I've been looking at options. So I will let y'all know what I decide. Yeah, and I may wait a little while too still to see if I can get the plants really growing in pretty full before I add the fish. So yeah. I think that about sums things up, but overall, I was not sure how I would feel about buying this fancy light, and my feelings right now are pretty good. I first set it up at about maybe a little bit more than 50% strength, and every couple of days I have bumped it up a little bit. So it's still not at full strength, but stronger than when I first initially turned it on. Not much out. There's some green dust algae on the glass, so next time I do a water change, I will scrape that off. But otherwise, I haven't seen any drastic changes yet, so we'll see. Hopefully I don't eat my words there. Okay, on the right, the 46 bow front is also looking pretty good. I added the second current USA light to this tank, so now it has twice the light it had before. Don't see any negative effects to that either. I did a water change today. There's a little bit of diatoms on the glass that the autosynclus hadn't gotten to, so I scraped that off. Otherwise, tank looks great. Plants are doing well. when I added the second light to this tank, there also was an immediate amount of pearling going on that hadn't really been happening before. So that was, it would happen really fast. So that was kind of surprising. You could see the moss is all covered in bubbles, the physidins. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, the plants in the back, the two different types of cryptocorynes and the cyperus on the right mostly, it's all growing in nicely. The Bucephalandra still looks great. Not much else to report. I added the Owazi surface skimmer. You can see on the top right. It is kind of crazy looking, and the branding is really obnoxious. Just like having that big Owazi right there is a little bit rude. But anytime you do a planted tank with, especially with driftwood, you're gonna get some like surface sort of slick, some like, I don't know, sort of like oily film on the surface of the tank, and it was kind of driving me crazy. It's not as bad on the other tank because there's no wood, but on this tank with the driftwood, it definitely was bothering me. Most of these little skimmers I have tried before. I've tried like the Eheim one, and I think there's one, sort of a company, I think called Azu or something like that, that had these little, they just did nothing. They were a waste. I bought like maybe 3 different brands. They were all, I think, the same thing basically. None of them did anything. So I didn't really have high hopes for this, but I figured people like Owazi filters. I've been happy with mine so far. Let me give this one a try. And it, compared to the other ones, it's amazing. It has a lot of power. If you set it up so that it is sticking a little bit out of the water where it sucks in too much air, you can see the force of the water underneath it like jetting down, and it immediately cleared the surface. So I guess if I feel like it's too ugly, I can remove it and see how long it takes for the film to come back. But definitely impressed with this one, and I have like never had luck with them in the past. So yeah, aside from it being kind of ugly, that was a good purchase too. Other plant-wise, the Laganandra in the front here, I'm hoping that with the brighter light, it will start to change color. It is supposed to be the red variety. Could be that it's not. It could just be a green variety of Laganandra. That happens. But I do think when I grew this in the past from tissue culture, it took a while, and then it eventually grew in sort of a pinkish coppery color that's really, really attractive. So maybe I'll just wait a little while and see what happens. I was thinking also maybe I'll just cut it, all of it, way back to the ground and see how it grows back. That's another option. I may do that. But we'll see if there's any change with the added light. But the mermaid weed, the stem plant, Prosser pinica, is that what it is? I always forget. That is starting to change color, look really nice and red on the top. So very quick results. The Cryptocoryne spiralis red in the back too. You can really see that red banding on the margins, looking really nice. So yeah, I feel like getting the light for the other tank and adding that tank's light to this tank has definitely been an improvement for both tanks. So anyway, I think that pretty much covers everything. One annoying thing about this elephant stone, which I think that's what, elephant skin stone maybe? Pretty cool rock, very happy with it, but it does get a little, some of it sort of flakes off. Maybe it's the shrimp contributing to that, but it'll flake off onto the plants below. A little bit annoying, but it's such a pretty cool looking rock that it doesn't bother me too much. The mosses I've planted on it had some maybe Java fern, or Java moss rather, growing in it. So I tried cutting it out. That one particularly did. And then there was some more Java fern floating around in the tank it came with the shrimp and I couldn't get it all out. So I did the water change today and I tried to get out as much of it as I could because I don't want that taking over. Java moss is cool for the right, right setting, but it tends to grow really fast and take over. So I was not wanting that in the tank. So I'm gonna keep an eye on that and make sure it doesn't come back. There's one of the little shrimp. I think that's one of the ones that's buried with the legs. But in this bit of elephant stone over here, there's actually, in all the crevices, there's some kind of moss growing, which is pretty cool. I could see there was something. There's like these little brown rhizomes when I bought it, and I wasn't sure what was gonna happen. And there is definitely, I don't know if I can get it on video, because it's really small, but there are little bits of moss growing from each of those. So I think each of those little brown lines in the crevices is like a little bit of old dried moss that's come back to life. So that's kind of neat. But yeah, anyway, I feel like that's a long enough update. It went a little longer than I usually do. But that is the 9-week mark for the 45 on the left with the stem plants and the 46 on the right. It's more nature aquarium style. Yeah, we'll see how things go with the new lights. Thank you for watching, and yeah, see you next week.